You know the way I titled my review video for Thunderbolts, Thunderbolts Review, it's a good movie, because I thought it was a good movie. Shocker, I liked it. But I was thinking about something today that if I titled the video Thunderslop, Woke and Weak, and opened the video by saying something like, well guys, it's finally here, Thunderbolts, a drab, dreary, depressing, generic, by-the-numbers slop fest filled with angsty and unlikable characters who no one cares about, a thinly developed antagonist, a bloated and underwhelming story with no reason for being, a messy derivative, blah blah, etc, etc. And I could say all of those things, and I could play to a certain crowd, but it wouldn't be my opinion. Certainly those kinds of criticisms are deserved for other movies, but not for Thunderbolts, in my opinion. Although, if I'd gone down such a negative and sensationalized route, I could have probably brought in way more views than the video got. My view count is way down for that video because I didn't trash it and try to garner hate views, which has become a bit of a cottage industry on YouTube. I was very pleased to see that Thunderbolts has sparked an interesting schism in YouTube film review circles. It's nice to see the echo chamber bubble is being burst. The folks over at Film Threat hosted a debate between multiple reviewers, including the Angry Badger, Dane James from Verbal Riot Show, Nerd Cookies, Paul Chado, Robert Meyer Burnett, and Derek Anderson. It was respectful, and there was a divergence of opinions. I think the issue with our little sphere of YouTube sometimes is that some people have lost the ability to just enjoy a movie for what it is because of how hurt and let down they've been by so many, Disney, Marvel, woke movies and TV shows over the years. Some people are, I think, understandably, very primed to focus on and look for negatives in films and amplify them out of all reasonable proportion. I think this is something we need to be aware of when we watch stuff, because you move in certain circles online and you can fall into self-reinforcing echo chambers. As a content creator myself, it's easy to develop a kind of a shtick, a mode of operating, where you're the guy who provides a certain type of contrarian or needlessly negative position on virtually everything because it becomes an expectation of a significant portion of your subscriber base, of your audience. In a weird way, there's a kind of comfort in that because it becomes an easy way to approach almost any new movie or TV show. Before you've even watched it, you've already, to some degree, preformed your opinion. And then when you finally do watch it, you're unable to enjoy the film because you've got this kind of barrier of preconceptions in the way, and you're already writing your scathing review in your head as you're watching it. You may think there's nothing wrong with that, but keep in mind, that's not a way to approach a film objectively. Now, I've read books, for example, where I've enjoyed the story, but there might be one or two minor moments or lines of dialogue in there where you can see the ideological bias of the author. There's something a bit cringe in there politically, but it might be only a very minor aspect of the book with no real impact on the story or characters. Like, for example, if you're reading a book that's a period piece set in the 1920s or something, and the author has inserted a scene where a character is discussing something, but they're speaking about it with a very modern contemporary take or, set of current year sensibilities. But I have a choice there. Do I allow a throwaway remark or line of dialogue I don't like to ruin the whole book for me? Or do I step around it and enjoy the rest of the book and the story just for what it is? And maybe I should just focus on the positive aspects of the book. I think perhaps I'm becoming a bit of a pragmatist as I get older. Thunderbolts isn't doing great at the box office, likely because, as we've discussed, it has been undermined by the damage that Disney Marvel has done to the MCU brand with so many mediocre, woke productions over the years since Endgame. If this film had been released at the beginning of, say, Phase 4, or even the beginning of Phase 5, it probably would have made over $100 million domestically on its first weekend and would likely be on course for, say, $700 to $850 million worldwide. Incidentally, reviews on review aggregator sites, including all audience reviews on Rotten Tomatoes, are quite high. Metacritic is coming in at 7.4, which is near the 7.5 out of 10 that I gave the film. All audience scores on Rotten Tomatoes are over 94%. IMDb is saying 7.7 out of 10, so very respectable scores overall. The film isn't outstanding, but those are good ratings, I think. I also acknowledge that many good and even great films have underperformed at the box office but went on to become classics. Office Space, The Iron Giant, Fight Club, The Shawshank Redemption, Blade Runner, even Blade Runner 2049 underperformed at the box office but I think is becoming a modern classic. I'm not putting Thunderbolts in that league, incidentally. I'm simply saying it can be a good movie and underperform financially. My main point is the issue that some YouTube reviewers find themselves trapped in is that they can become victims of their own success. Essentially, they're playing a role whereby in order to maintain a certain view count average on their videos so as to achieve a certain level of AdSense earnings, they have to maintain a particular negative angle or niche perspective that their audience has come to expect. So the film or TV show becomes irrelevant. It's more about churning out content that furthers a particular point of view. This is how you fall into your own ideological bias and lose any sense of proportionality or objectivity. Now, don't get me wrong, clearly there's a time and a place for letting loose on a bad movie or TV show, which I've done many times and no doubt will again. But regardless as to how poorly the MCU has been managed, how underwhelming it's been of late, if I believe a movie is good, if I enjoyed it, I'm not going to allow past failures to colour my perspective on it. Ultimately, if I'm going to commit 2 hours of my life to watching a film, I'd prefer if the experience was a pleasant one, rather than a chore. So yeah, it's nice to watch a decent MCU movie for a change, and I'm going to give credit where I believe credit is due. Thunderbolts was worth my time. When I started doing the Dave Cullen show several years ago, I never intended to be part of a thing, of some kind of social media movement that was going to bring about some positive change in the entertainment industry and turn Hollywood around. That's not what I signed up for, and I certainly didn't ever intend to exist within an echo chamber divorced from reality, where I'm merely supposed to repeat and mirror the opinions of a certain percentage of my audience, or other YouTubers for that matter, in order to feed the algorithm or provide a confirmation bias to people who probably won't even bother watching the film in the first place, but just want someone to pick it apart and provide them with catharsis. Finally, as part of the marketing for Thunderbolts, the studio have done this thing where they've explained what the asterisk means in the title. So they've rebranded Thunderbolts as the new Avengers, which is the big reveal at the end of the movie. Yeah, spoilers. Now, I think this is very clever marketing and it creates more buzz about the movie after its release. But my point is, there are some people in our sphere going ballistic about this. They're going crazy and spurging out about this rebranding marketing trick. And they're lashing out the videos saying, Disney Marvel, they're panicking. This is desperation. No, it's not. This was clearly planned well in advance. You can clearly see that in how well organized it is. But it also makes sense. It's why the asterisk was there all along in the title, and why the studio waited till after people had seen the film after its first weekend. It's simply some meta after-marketing that mirrors the surprise at the end of the movie where DeFontaine reveals to the media that the Thunderbolts are now the new Avengers. That's the twist. And Disney Marvel are doing that now to us because it's a meta-commentary where life imitates art. It's also the reason it's never been done for any other Marvel movie. Relax. It's a bit of marketing fun, and it is consistent with the film. It'll create a buzz. The film is still Thunderbolts officially at cinemas. This is just a change to some marketing materials and posters. I don't think it'll suddenly turn everything around at the box office, and I don't believe that Disney Marvel believe that either, but I also don't think it'll do the film any harm. I think the reaction to this film and this fun little rebrand from some clickbait commenters out there only further serves to underline how emotionally reactive this YouTube critic sphere has become. I think there needs to be a more measured response to things. Unfortunately, given the nature of social media and the algorithm-driven system it operates under, sensationalism and negativity will always generate more views than almost anything else. I also don't agree with blind positivity for the sake of it either, because that's no different to negativity for the sake of it. Social media does not reward content that takes a more nuanced, reasonable, and balanced approach. It rewards enticing, eye-catching titles and thumbnails and nuclear reactive hot takes that play to a certain crowd who've clicked on the video expecting their preconceived viewpoint to be reinforced. So, my message is, reject groupthink, embrace objectivity. You mightn't get as many views on YouTube doing that, but at least you won't become a formulaic caricature of yourself, and you might rediscover the fun of watching movies again, which was kind of the point of watching them in the first place. Unless we've forgotten that. Thanks very much for watching. Take care. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.